when I listen to my heart, I can hear you whisper, asking me lovingly to come and follow you. Here I am. Did I hear?
A very good day to you, everyone, and welcome to the Dare to Love show for this month of November. My name is Father Adam McDonald, a missionary priest of the Society of the Divine Word, co-host of this wonderful program where we want to come into your hearts and homes to inspire and encourage you and invite you to consider the invitation Christ gives us to be people of love. Now, of course, we're in this wonderful Advent season, a time where we are on a journey of preparing for the coming of the Lord. We remember how Christ first came as the Word made flesh. We anticipate that Christ will return one day in the fullness of glory. And yes, we celebrate and believe that Christ is with us now. If you can see this morning, today, I'm not in the studio alone. I am so very happy to have back with us my co-host and cohort, my partner in mission and all other things, Sister Lovina. Welcome back, Sister Lovina.
Hello, good morning. Boa tarde, actually, here. Coming back from Brazil. I'm so happy to be back. And thank you, Father Adam, for taking over. And yes, I'm Sister Lovina, and I am a Franciscan sister of the Sacred Heart. And I was away for 3 months, although I did do one of the shows before I left, and then November came by, and so I missed that part. I missed the Thanksgiving dinner, and I missed everybody here. But I'm so happy to be back, especially during Advent. And for today, we are joined by two people, colleagues for many years, having been part of the Chicago Archdiocese and Vocation Association, and also part of the Office for Religious for many years before I became part of the council in my own community. We have asked Sister Mary Beth Bromer, who is I was going to say recently appointed, but it's been how many years now, Sister?
In my
2 years?
third year.
Third year already. Oh my goodness. Yes. So Sister Mary Beth Bromer, who is the Vicar for Religious in the Office for Religious. And we're also joined by Father John Eustice, who is a Viatorian and also very much a part of our team working for in vocation ministry. So welcome, Sister Mary Beth, and welcome, Father John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we were talking earlier about talking about Advent, and I haven't actually kind of gotten into like what is the title. Usually we have a title or a theme for the show, and because it's Advent season, and also it's the year of pilgrimage of hope for our church, and so you mentioned something about Advent is also a pilgrimage, so why not? Pilgrimage of hope. I really like that theme. And so for today, we will be talking about, our ministry roles, of course, are the charism. We usually try to explain what is a charism, or the gift, or particular gift of the Holy Spirit to each community in terms of our way of life as religious, and the way that we serve in the community and one another, and how we make this world a better world, representing Christ's mission. And so I would like to probably talk about this year. It's December, the end of the year. So what has been probably, I would say, what is the most impactful thing for you, or what maybe is your takeaway for the year, if you can think of that? And if you don't have just one, just think of several things, and then we'll go from that. And we'll start with maybe Sister Mary Beth?
Sure,
Okay.
I can do that.
All right.
As you said, I'm a Felician sister, living and ministering also at St. Tribius Parish. I have my wonderful opportunity to be the Vicar for Religious in the Archdiocese of Chicago, which has been a tremendous gift and truly a humbling experience. And as part of my adventures this past year, during the celebration of consecrated life, I was able to go to Rome to be present, to take part in the all of the events that were planned for the religious consecrated men and women in Rome, and it was just amazing. And what impacted me the most was the joy, the enthusiasm, the love, of course seeing Pope Leo, and to be able to be celebrating, to be present at Mass for that day, to be with all the religious praying at St. Peter's in the evening. I think it was one of the greatest gifts I've ever received, and to be among the religious, the consecrated men and women was such a blessing because, like I said, I have the privilege to serve with and to minister to them. And so it really, I felt, enriched my ministry and gifted me with many graces. And I said, I'm really humbled because I don't know, there was just something life-changing about that experience, that there were so many graces. You know, I've been to Rome, I've been to Assisi, but there was something so special that God was just so generous, and His love and His mercy. And I think it was because I was with my brothers and sisters in Christ that made it even more impactful. You know, and as a Felician, it was wonderful to be walking the streets of Rome and running into a few Felicians here and there, and then to see other religious from the Archdiocese, you know. So what a great gift. And to think about being hope, and what does that mean for us as religious to be people of hope, especially during these times. And so what a great gift. So thank you for asking that question.
Yeah. What about you, Father John?
Yeah, thank you. I'm a Viatorian, and I have been a Viatorian for the past 20 years. The first 19 of those have been as a brother. So just recently I was ordained, about a year and a half ago. And the Viatorians, our charism is to walk with young people and people on the margins of society, and to help make the gospel come alive and help make faith deepen and grow and be celebrated there. So my ministry that I'm involved in is I'm the chaplain at St. Viator High School in Arlington Heights, where I get to walk with young people 1 or 2 days a week. And then also most recently I've been reassigned as a vocation director, where again we get to accompany people. So Father Adam and I see each other in lots of circles together. But the pilgrimage of hope, just for this year, for this theme of Advent, I'm looking back, and there are so many instances where there have been pilgrimage. One of them was in October, where the Viatorian associates, lay associates, brothers and priests came together from all over the world. And we're in 12 countries. We came together where we were founded in Lyon, France, and came to share what our life is like in our particular countries, in our particular lifestyles, and how the charism that has grown is being expressed in different ways. And even though we speak 3 different languages, French, English, and Spanish, and even though we're from multiple different cultures, there's a commonality there. One is the sense of humor. Another one is the sense of walking with Christ, and finally just walking with young people to know Christ's love. And one of the other experiences where I actually did go on a real pilgrimage this summer was the Archdiocese of Santa Fe. They have every year for the past 50 years a pilgrimage for vocations.
Wow.
And so they have 4 routes that go 100 miles over the course of a week and end up in the sanctuary of Chimayo. You would think that they have holy water there. No, they have holy dirt. But the 4 different routes, there's 2 male routes, 2 female routes. I was attached to one of them, and I was on the only route where I was a priest that stayed with them the whole way. And what a grace to be able to be with people from ages 14 or 13 all the way to about 82, walking 100 miles in the highways of northern New Mexico, participating in the spirituality of the northern New Mexicans, and just carrying a cross, carrying an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, carrying prayers of people, and picking up a little bit of dirt as we went along the way. Oftentimes, during the day, I would hang out in the back of the line. There would be trucks helping us not to get run over by anybody. But while hanging back there, I would just say, hey, the confessional's open. And as we're walking along, people would drop back and say, "Can you hear my confession?" I would say, "Sure. What do you want to dump on the highway here? And what do you think I did? How do you think I did with my confessional space here? Right there in God's beautiful creation, with in the same area that Georgia O'Keeffe was doing her paintings and everything else."
Yeah.
So God, through this journey of hope, this pilgrimage of hope, this pilgrimage for vocations, through the natural world and through the people who walk in it, God is very much alive and provides a lot of hope, not only for now, but I think for the future of the church and the future of humanity.
Thank you for that. That's so beautiful.
Indeed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that, Father John, you may not have been in Rome per se, but you were in Europe as well on a trip. Do you want to talk about that as well? I believe you went to France.
So in Lyon, we were there in October, and it was actually on the Feast of St. Viator that we were there on October 21st.
Wow.
So we were able to, one day we walked in the footsteps of our founder. He grew up in Lyon, Father Louis Curbs, actually Venerable Louis Curbs. He's on his way to sainthood. But we got to be at the parish where he grew up and eventually became parochial vicar. And we also went to Notre Dame de Fourvière, where he sent the original missionaries from France to Canada, and then eventually Canada to the United States, in a little village called Bourbonnais here. But we were in the chapel from where he sent them. And on St. Viator Day, we were able to gather again in all of the different languages at his tomb, and then celebrate Mass in St. Bonnet Church in Vurl, right outside of Lyon, which is the founding of our community 190 some years ago. So seeing that his vision and his inspiration and the charism that he has, that we now inherit, is still alive, perhaps expressed in a different way, but is still alive and on 4 different continents, is quite amazing.
Amazing. I'm so glad I asked. You had talked about it a little bit. I wanted to dive more into it because what I was hearing between what you shared and what you shared earlier, Sister Mary Beth, was the sense of like the deepening connection with your own charisms, with your own institutes.
Yes.
You might have outwardly gone to be part of these experiences with other religious, but it so deeply connected you with your own founders, foundresses, and charisms. And what a gift, isn't it? We were talking earlier about how our congregations all have their founding anniversaries and whatnot. So we've got 150 years as Divine Word missionaries in 2025, and I believe your congregation, Franciscan
year,
Sisters of Sacred Heart, come back about 150 next year.
We're so excited.
So amazing. And I was so touched, Sister Mary Beth, about what you said about being people of hope. You know, somehow this Advent, as it started, we're still in early days of Advent, but, you know, kind of preaching, not always with words, but when I have to preach with words in that capacity, it's kind of like, what focus does your preaching take? And for whatever reason, this Advent, I've just had this profound reflection that so many Advents I've prayed for hope. I've prayed for peace. I've prayed for joy. As if, God, you know we need these things. Can you just give us a little bit more, right? As if God hadn't already done that. And somehow I've had the insight, and I think this is very connected to what you said, Sister Mary Beth, is that, well, whether I see the hope or not, maybe I need to be the hope and create the hope.
Absolutely.
Maybe I need to create the peace. You know, look for opportunities to be reconciled. And that can contribute peace to the world. I may not be able to change all the situations in the world I'd like to change, but I can change how I interact with those right in my circle. And that, in fact, one heart touching another can have that ripple effect we talk about and ripple out to others. And so creating hope, I'm thinking about, you're talking about impact. So November 1, All Saints Day, about 2,000 of us gathered and I believe created hope outside of the detention center in Broadview, Illinois. And Auxiliary Bishop Maldonado was there to celebrate Mass, and so many familiar faces were there. And in a situation, in a world, in a corner of the world where hope seems to be dim, that day, I believe we didn't just stand for hope and we didn't just pray for hope, but we actually tried to be the hope. So it's things like that. And then a few weeks later, I meet Father John among 16,000 young people gathered in Indianapolis, Indiana for NCYC, the National Catholic Youth Conference. And talk about a workout for us introverts. Woo! 16,000 young people. And going back to Pope Leo, we love our Pope from Chicago.
Yes.
He did a Zoom call, if you will, a live video link to 16,000 young people inside Lucas Oil Stadium. And in this stadium, we had 5 young people who were able to ask questions in real time
That's
of
so
Pope
cool.
Leo, who took the time to listen deeply and answer profoundly these questions. And you know what a great tool it was? I don't know about you, Father John, but everybody who came to our vocation booth after that, when they didn't know what to say and we didn't know what to say, but they were kind of attracted to kind of see what's going on here, we would say, hey, what did you think about the Pope?
Yeah.
And what question did you want to ask? And some people knew exactly. And some were kind of like, I'll have to think about that. But like planting that seed,
Yes.
you take that question with you, think about it. And I told them exactly what I wanted to know. And I said, what I'd like to know is, Holy Father, after 34 years of your life in Peru, how did that change you? How did that make you who you are today? And how you see even this mission and this ministry as shepherd of our church? And the kids were kind of like, okay, so now think of your own question,
Yes.
you know. But just so many opportunities to be hope, to create hope, to discover hope where it's present. And where I see that intersecting with Advent, okay. This was the other day at St. Xavier University. So Father John and I haven't met there yet, but we both go to celebrate with the community at St. Xavier on Wednesdays, and one day we'll meet there. And so we're there, and I'm just thinking, okay, we need to be hope, we need to create hope. So Advent is a time where we don't just look for the hope of the past, if we could get back to some former glory, and it's not just the hope we get to in the future, if we can get through all this messy stuff, but it's like Jesus is here in the now. Right? He never really left us. He's present with us now. So how is Christ coming to us today? Where do we see those glimmers of hope in the midst of the darkness, in the midst of the challenges of the world? And back to the point we've been saying is, how do we engender that and enkindle that and create those moments of hope? So that's going to be my preaching for the rest of Advent as we get on to the candles that represent joy and love. How can we be joy? How can we create joy? How can we be love and create love in this world? How is this landing on your heart, Sister Lovina?
No, really, I think the now, it's just hitting me in terms of what I've been experiencing, because this pilgrimage year has been so awesome. Like with Sister Mary Beth, seeing the Pope, which was unexpected and a gift, really. You already had one show in which we talked about our trips over the summer. And I was lucky enough to attend several things, plus get my retreat over in Assisi from May, ending with June. And in between, I was able to go to Rome for the purpose of tagging along with 2 other sisters from the retreat center in Assisi. That was one of the gifts of the year. So I would have to say one of the highlights of the year is being able to be present in person during the installation of Pope Leo. And having researched, not expecting that I was actually going to be there, so I researched what I could. So and I think I mentioned this before, that I actually cried when we saw on the Jumbotron much more clearly, but of course looking at it from a distance, when Cardinal Tagle, who's from the Philippines, was presenting the ring that the Pope would be wearing. And it's like, oh my goodness, because they were saying it was very close. I mean, Cardinal Tagle probably could have been one of the candidates for the Pope. So we were all excited, but of course we're happy, someone from Chicago becoming the Pope, and being so available, as we know now towards the end of this year, that doing a Zoom call,
right.
And he's very busy. And he really gives hope. He solidifies that sense of, yes, we can do this. But now, after 3 months of being sent in Brazil and being with my sisters, there are 2 houses there near the city of Belém, which coincidentally was where COP30 was held. And COP30 is the United Nations way of gathering people who talk about the climate changes, and so representatives from different countries gathered there. About 50,000, I think, was what they expected. Then, as a parallel event, there was what's called the People's Summit, or the Cupola dos Povos is what the Brazilians called it. And that's where I was able to join. Very, very much a privilege to be with the people. Of course, I had to make use of my phone to try to capture, thank you to Google Translate, I guess I'm making an advertisement here, or DeepL sometimes, to kind of capture what they're saying, because you can only learn so much of another language, and Portuguese is actually, I think, harder than Spanish. But to capture it and capture the sense of what they're talking about is so much more different being there. But I can sense that there's one heart. And the hope that I really felt there is the transformation of people. So one specific statement that I heard was, you can create laws, you can create regulations, and you can even try to impose it. But unless you convince people and change your mind, that was the phrase that was used, or the translation in English. But being a Franciscan, it's that continual conversion is what hit me. And so there's always hope because there's that continual conversion. And continual conversion relates to what you said, Father Adam, about the now. You don't kind of get and delve into the past of what's been done. Francis was the one that said, even up to now, we have done nothing. It's like, I could go and, like, Francis, what do you mean, up to now we have done nothing? But that's what he meant.
Right.
And now we wake up to the now and start doing something now, because it's what will help the future as well. But we don't look to the future and wait, we do it now. So I think that for me is the most impactful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in the now, as you said, Sister Mary Beth, your role as Vicar for Religious is kind of to gather, to corral, to walk with and support. I wouldn't even know to guess the number of religious in the Archdiocese. Could you tell us a little bit more about sort of what that role entails, and where you're finding hope in the ministry you're doing in that role?
I find hope in all of the religious that I have the opportunity to work with. I'm amazed at the 90-year-olds and who will say, I can volunteer to teach English as a second language. Priests and sisters who are saying to help our new members coming in from other countries. That gives me hope that even one of the sisters who had written and said, I no longer can see very well, I can't do this, but I can pray. So you've got that group of religious who have been there, done what was theirs to do, and are still willing to give. And then you've got other new groups who are coming in with such enthusiasm, with such love, and ministering in so many different ways. So it's really a blessing to work with the priests, the brothers, the sisters. Always mindful of the brothers, because sometimes they feel they get left out. But it's amazing to work with so many diverse groups. And I always tell my Felicians, though, even though I work with so many wonderful religious, I would still be a Felician all over again. That's the greatest gift, too, is to recognize the gift that your own sisters are. So I had a wonderful opportunity to have the leadership of the religious at the recent meeting with the Cardinal in October. We've got an upcoming event with the Consecrated Life Celebration / Jubilee for the religious on February 14th. It's going to be at St. Richard's Parish on the south side of Chicago. Hopefully all the consecrated men and women that are able to will be joining us, as well as the Jubilarians. It's at 11 o'clock. And so, and then there's the pain of walking with religious who no longer can stay because their visas are no longer, they can't be renewed. And so what does that mean? Or the situation with green cards and that, so the pain of that, or sometimes a religious who has to go back to get a visa and then is not allowed back in. So there are those pieces. And so I'm amazed and touched at the many missionaries. You talk about being missionaries, the missionaries who are coming here to serve the people of God here in the Archdiocese of Chicago. Women and men who are really wonderful examples of hope. And they give me hope every day when I have that opportunity to work with them. So it's really, it's a blessing. And I just want to give a plug that we Felicians just ended our 150th in North America. So, because we were founded in Poland. And talk about hope. There were 5 women who came over from Poland to little Polonia, Wisconsin. Now find that on the map. And look what has come about because of that. And so to be risk takers as religious, to be willing to go places where no other people are able to go, that's how we can be women and men of hope. That's what our founders and foundresses did when they took that risk and sent people to who knows where. And yet God is continuing to bless us. So I'm really blessed to work with so many fine women and men. I think about them when they're, especially at the holidays, you know, they're not able to go back home, they're here. God bless them. You know?
For sure.
So say a prayer for our men and women religious, and say a prayer for continued openness to men and women to respond generously to God's call.
Absolutely, and you know, we're so blessed here in the Archdiocese. I think we'd all agree that you know, religious are such a building block of the church in this part of the world, whether you know it or not. There are so many religious institutes of men and women in the Archdiocese doing things seen and unseen.
Absolutely.
You know, behind the scenes, on the front lines, standing with, supporting the poorest of the poor, those on the margins of society, just in so many countless ways. And truly, as we've been talking today, what a great source of hope for all of us to know that this is happening. Think of that 90-year-old saying, you know, I can't do this, but I can do that. You know?
Or I'm going to be there every Wednesday night for teaching English as a second language.
I'm not retiring for being a person of hope.
Absolutely.
You know?
I can help others.
So what about you, Father John, in terms of, you know, you've got these dual roles, chaplain in a high school and vocation director. So where are you finding hope? Where are you creating hope in those, that interesting mix of roles you've got?
Yeah, we came together with our sophomores and our freshmen this fall. So our province center is right across the tree line from the high school, and we were looking at, okay, how do we promote vocations within our own school? And we actually went on a little pilgrimage with both classes. The freshmen, we did a pilgrimage just throughout the school itself and looked at the seal and the shield of the school in the main entrance and kind of picked it apart and looked at what are the different elements of that. And one of them was the seal of the Viatorians and the charism that we have that's implanted there. Another one was academic rigor. Another one was how they act out what they're learning and what their faith is. And then going down the hallway and seeing the pictures of the different spiritual leaders, whether it was recent graduates who were awarded with what it means to be a St. Viator Lion, or the Pope and our Superior General and our Provincial and all the Viatorians who serve there, all the while as we're going through the school with these students, saying to them, hey, God's got an invitation for you. And it doesn't just stop right here during your freshman year. We're on the way, which is what Viator means. We are on the way to discovering who God is inviting you to be. And we ended up in the chapel with a little prayer service and an anonymous and optional prayer card saying, the Viatorians can pray for me this way. And one of the things is they can mark down what vocation or lifestyle that they might be open to. And we did that too with the sophomores as we brought them to the Viatorian Province Center, and they prayed the Liturgy of the Hours with us, saying, hey, we break open the Word, we look at Scripture and let it read us, so then God can also invite through that as well. And they had the same cards. Out of the approximate 400 students, 23 of them indicated religious life or priesthood. Not all of them left their names, but that's okay. But there is hope that there is a stirring of the Spirit for young people to serve the church in a very specific way. And that's just one school, only 2 classes. I can only imagine who's going into the pews of the local parishes, who goes to public schools and everything. We have a lot of work to do, but my goodness, God's going to provide the people to help cultivate that hope and watch out.
Amazing. You know, and I'm sitting here thinking, whether you have the chance to visit the Felician Sisters, you have your beautiful convent up on Peterson Avenue, whether you have the chance to go to Arlington Heights, whether you have the chance to be a Frankfurter and go to Frankfurt, Illinois, to the Franciscan Sisters, or come to our house in Hyde Park or up in Techney, go online and check out our social media sites, and you there are very few guarantees in life. I think I can almost guarantee you will find hope. When you see what the Felician sisters stand for and whom they stand with and what they're doing, the things the Viatorians are doing and witnessing to, the things that the sisters are inviting us to be mindful of, I mean, it's just across the board. You can find hope right from the comfort of your home or wherever it is on your device. But then to take that step of asking, how am I called to be that ambassador, that missionary of hope? Just this very morning, this profound homily I heard from one of my brothers said that in Advent we often think of how we are waiting for and preparing for Christ. And he flipped it around and said, how do we recognize the Christ who is waiting for us? Mm-hmm. The Christ who has prepared this way for us to journey closer to him, so that as we get closer to him, it's not just a warm, fuzzy feeling because we're back together again, as much as we enjoy that, but it's how are we then, with that closeness of Jesus, extending that reach to invite others to know that closeness of Jesus and that touch and that hope that comes with being close to the Lord. So, Sister Lovina, I don't know, we opened up a whole can of hope here, with this program, and it's just been amazing.
One of the things, I guess in terms of the pilgrimage of hope, being on the way, preparing the way, is that hope, Jesus is with us, Emmanuel, God with us, and then that word of incarnation, the birth of Christ, Natal in Portuguese. One of the things that I cannot miss talking about is, and it's not about the numbers, okay, but every daily Mass. Now, if you're attending daily Mass in the United States, usually it's 30 minutes. Why is that? No music, okay? And then usually, probably the people will start glaring at the pastor if he dares go over 10 minutes, right? Because it's a daily Mass, right? Okay, so in Brazil, you have to get used to, it's as if you're attending a Sunday Mass, but instead of a 15-minute, 20-minute, maybe sometimes even 30-minute homily for Sunday, it would be sometimes 45 minutes if the music kind of goes on. And in October, and then in other parts, November, there's the Sirio, which is the celebrations. Our Lady of Nazareth in Pará, which is the state where I was in, that's a huge thing. And in fact, for the Sirio in Belém, and this is before COP30 came through, it was over 2 million people attended, and it was covered nationally. And what I'm always finding something new is that, so it's in the Amazon region, right, which we call the lungs of the world, not just of the Americas or South America, of the world. And so really the focus is on there. But it's also, it has its own weather, it's very hot. There's a lot of indigenous peoples, and their race is different. And so, we can't help but have different stories and how people look at people from different regions. Look at in the United States, the Californians or New Yorkers or Texans or the Midwest, whatever. We have our own little regional cultures. Over there, there's also a particular thing going on in that region. But if there's anything that I could remember from the people other than loving singing, I cannot imagine them being content with our no music daily Masses. At least we appreciate the great, wonderful music ministry for the Sundays. But they really put it to a different level. And even on the daily Mass, the church is full, and the churches are big. And those are just what they call the matriz, which is like the main church. They have communities. And I asked, well, in this small diocese, it's not even the archdiocese, in this diocese, how many communities do you have? 42. And the sisters there in one of the places I lived with for, I think, almost 2 months, they would get a stipend. But, beyond that, they really are on a schedule, because there are only, 3 priests there, I think, in the main parish. But because of the communities and the people wanting to be part of the church, They build their own community, and then they do communion masses and things like that. They have tons of altar servers, and which is how you get the age, the high school age kids. Then they have the guarda de Nossa Senhora, which is the guards for the image, because they do a lot of like processions and things like that, and devotionals. And how many would you have? Like maybe 100 or something, that they keep on developing, and they have spirituality. So how do you get people and you involve them in music ministry, in prayer groups, in altar service? It's just amazing how they fill that church, and it's not just the numbers.
Sure.
I'm just like overwhelmed with hope. And so Monday, December 8th, Immaculate Conception, right? It's a feast. Well, it's a national holiday for Brazil. So it's just, I'm like, oh my God, being an American here it's just so different, but I really, really appreciate how we too could have that renewed passion. And that's why I thank you, Sister Mary Beth, for the gatherings that, like the picnic. I missed the picnic. I wasn't there, and all that. But I was like, oh, I hope they enjoy it, because the convivencia, or the gathering, always helps and gives us hope that, even with the generational variety from the 90s to the younger ones, like you had in November, those. No, I wasn't referring to you, Father Adam. I meant like your confreres who are being formed.
Perpetually professed, correct.
And then the children that you offer religious education services, and then as a chaplain over in the high school, things like that. I think we will probably be seeing each other in February when we do the Busy Students Retreat over at Northwestern University. So when we are present that way, then Christ's presence is incarnated, and there's always hope.
Amen. I feel like we're constantly building bridges. Advent is a time of building the bridge of faith, connecting the past, the first coming of Christ, to the future coming of Christ. So there's one bridge, but also how that bridges into each present moment. We've talked about the now, but also how Advent starts a liturgical year and ends another, the year that preceded it. And now the calendar year, bridging into that. So even though we're in the now, of course it's natural for us to look ahead and think of where the hope we see is into the future. So I don't know, Sister Lovina, if we're calling it resolutions or hopes for the new year, but I guess I can tell you mine, because it's going to be the same one as last year. I remember on this very show last year saying that my resolution, my hope for the new year, was to take a day off once in a while. Well, how did I do in 2025? Not so well. I did a couple of Saturdays here and there, but I kind of work from home, actually, in my role as local superior of the Formation House. So I live on one side of the door, and my office is on the other side of the door. So my commute is, don't mean to make you jealous, of a 10-second commute, literally. But it's kind of hard to know when to turn the work off at times. So my hope is that, to be good religious, to be faithful servants, we also need to care for self so that we can care for others. And so to try to model for the young men I'm living with that even Father Adam has to take a day off once in a while, or take some rest, meet my spiritual director, go on retreat, that kind of thing. So, and I think in that there will be hope that what we're giving is being replenished, because we're taking time to go back to the source of all the good that we hope to be and do. That ultimate good who blesses us with this call and this gift. So as we think of that bridge, maybe Sister Mary Beth, would you like to bridge into sort of, as we look ahead to 2026, what do you see? Not asking you to reveal any secrets here, but maybe it's just a hope or a sense of direction for 2026.
Well, I'm just hoping that we as religious continue to communicate, collaborate, create, and we're looking to do some new things with vocation ministry. Stay tuned for that, what it will look like in the Archdiocese, and also ways that we can continue to be hope for people who maybe have lost hope, especially to stand as in silent witness for those people who are on the margins, to continue to meet the needs of those who are most in need, and also to be, take up our elders' religious desire to be part to encourage them to continue to pray for the many special intentions that are put in front of us throughout the year, so that we all continue to recognize that the days of silos are over. Every community can't do it alone, but we need to do it together, and to find out how we do that, what are those bridges that we work with. And one of the exciting things that we're working on is looking at how do we promote peace-filled communities. How can we put ends to violence, and to really have a think tank group working on that. So that's an exciting thing, so stay tuned for that. New ideas coming up with the vocation efforts in the Archdiocese to really work on building that culture of vocations, and to help every religious to recognize and consecrate a person that they are special, loved by God, and are so needed. Their presence is so needed in the Archdiocese and in the world, and in the little neighborhoods where they're at.
You got it. Well, Father John, you've had a few minutes to think about it. You know this question's coming to you next. So what are you thinking for 2026? What's the bridge you see before you?
I see two things with this. One is the personal reconnection with my spiritual life, much like you. Okay, make sure I do take a day here and there. Make sure I do get out to the mountains somewhere, whether it's New Mexico or Nevada, who knows. But the other part, too, is pausing with my community to really listen to where has the Spirit been active, in a way, take the approach of the Synod and listen from the heart, speak from the heart, and then walk together with my Viatorian confreres and say, where are we needed? Where does God need our charism right now in this day and age? And then have the courage to follow that.
Thank you. Sister Lovina, I'm not letting you off the hook either. So
Yeah.
question's gone full circle.
No,
Coming back to
this
you now.
coming year is huge for me and for my community. And so I think all I could think of is making space, preparing the way. You know, the Advent in general, of course, making space for God, which is very general, but is specifically really decluttering. Well, beginning with unpacking, and then
Literally.
literally,
just getting home.
and yeah, because I also have to pack for
Right.
another set of meetings. So, but in my heart, I think to make sure that I like that, like the communication, so that there can be some gathering and connection. The age-old bridge image, I do carry that, because I think with the language, the understanding of cultures, and my love for cultures has set me on that path, and a continued call to be part of the language of love, the language of presence, music, art. Yeah, there's a lot, and so I'll just put it making space and preparing for it.
Praise
Yeah.
God. Well, I don't know about you, but this has been a very hope-filled conversation, and I'm so delighted that we were able to welcome our guests today, to have you back, Sister Lovina, after your absence, and to have Father John and Sister Mary Beth with us. So I think as we begin to wrap things up, we want to certainly...
We want to make sure first,
yes.
so are there any events or things that we want to invite our viewers to that's coming up?
Father
Well,
John,
I'm
you
looking
have-
forward to the February 14th gathering at St. Richard's.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We outgrew St. Rita. Last year we were at St. Rita's Shrine. We would fit in the church, but we didn't fit in the dining room.
Wow.
So we were almost outside the doors, and so we had to find a bigger space. So I'm hoping that we're going to have even more
That's
consecrated
great.
persons there.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
I always have to be mindful of that, because I can't leave out our consecrated brothers and sisters and other
Absolutely.
forms of consecrated life.
Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
For us in the Divine Word community, on December 17th, we'll have our monthly online discernment group for young men ages 18 to 35, single Catholic men who are open to learning about not just the Divine Word, but that sense of being invited to build a bridge of hope in our world and to use our gifts and talents to be of service. That'll be on Wednesday, December 17th at 8 o'clock Central Time. There is a little registration process. You want to go to svdvocations.org plural, svdvocations.org. And then also starting on December 16th, Sister Lovina will appreciate this little plug. We have the novena for the Filipino Catholic community, which is not just for Filipinos, but for the whole church. It's called the Simbang Gabi. It started as a tradition in the Philippines of a novena of dawn masses from the 16th to the 24th as an intensified period of preparation for the coming of Christ at Christmas. And to boot, a Marian devotion in that the 9 days of the novena represent the 9 months that Mary carried Jesus in her womb. So it's a great celebration as well of how Mary first brought Jesus to us and leads us to Jesus. And so check the archchicago.org website. You will see me at several of these masses, to be sure, but they'll be celebrated throughout the Archdiocese, and just a wonderful opportunity to come together as people of faith and hope to continue preparing ourselves for Christ coming, but also, as we said, to think about how Christ is preparing us to continue to be people of hope and service into the future. So.
I just have one for my community in Frankfurt. It's December 14. We have, actually, we called it, it's a Christmas event, but we're calling it pilgrimage. So it's interesting because, and it's at 3 p.m. It's on a Sunday, 3 p.m., and it's at the chapel at the Mother House. Okay. So I believe on the link that will be posted by Michael May, who is behind the wall here. I always try to plug in our behind the scenes people, and Michael's like, don't mention it. But yes, he's very much a partner in our Dare to Love show, always. And we always learn things from Michael. So, but he will be posting on the YouTube description the links to our communities, as well as the Consecrated Life. I put that in the website in there for events. And so people, our viewers, can always go to those links. And please feel free to forward once this posts on YouTube. It can always be forwarded. The links can be forwarded. Absolutely. So, and we'll let you know. It used to be just a brief explanation to those who are viewing us right now. The Dare to Love show has been going on since 2018. And it started out as a radio show. But now we are on YouTube, and so we can always advertise or promote it because we always do promote and feature religious communities as a sign of hope and as a sign that we continue to be called to serve out our vocation, whether it's as a single person, as married people, as consecrated religious brothers, sisters, as priests, ordained priests and deacons, and also the calling of every person within those callings. So we always consider that is a gift from God. So.
Amen. Well, Sister Lovina, I know sometimes you like us to sing when we come towards the end of the year, but I don't know if we've got a ditty picked out or...
well, we didn't sign up for that.
Didn't sign up for that, so...
what do you think? Should we do English or Tagalog or...
We can do English, and those who know the refrain can join in.
All right.
Joy to the World. Or,
yes, so let's do Joy to the World, okay?
Crack those knuckles.
1, 2, 3.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Yay! Thank you, Father Adam. We did it. Thank you for your spontaneity. I'm surprised. Pulled a fast one on our guest today.
I think this is the 4th year that we've done it.
I think it is.
Yeah. Although we did it 3 times, ang Pasko ay sumapit, and then now we did it.
This was much more impromptu the last few times. So thanks for bearing with us. And thank you for tuning in today and enjoying this episode and this inspiring conversation. We thank again our guests, Sister Mary Beth Bromer, Father John Eustice, and Sister Lovina, my co-host, for being with us. And again, we've mentioned Michael, our producer, and others who helped to make us look and sound great. We hope that you at home will have a very good and grace-filled journey and pilgrimage to this through this Advent season leading to Christmas, and a happy, healthy new year ahead. So have a great day. God bless, and we'll see you next month on the Dare to Love Show.
Did I hear you call my name? Here I am, as you wish.
heart sings of the love that I found in you.